If you're not disciplined, results will always feel random. Have you ever told yourself, this time I'm serious, and still ended up quitting 2 weeks later? You start strong, you feel good for a few days, but then life happens and you fall right back into the same old routine. If that's been your pattern, you're not broken. You're just not disciplined enough yet. This video isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up when your brain says don't. It's about doing the boring stuff when nobody's cheering for you. And it's about building a mindset so solid that results become automatic. If you're tired of starting over, watch this. If you're ready to change your life without depending on motivation, this is for you. Discipline makes success predictable. Let's build that version of you starting now. Number 1, choose discipline the moment your brain wants comfort. Discipline doesn't come when life feels good. Discipline shows up when your mind screams for comfort, when your body is tired, and when everything in you wants to take the easy way out. That's the exact moment most people walk away. That's also the exact moment where winners are made. See, everyone wants success, but not everyone wants to do what success actually demands. The world is full of people who say, I'll start tomorrow. The truth is, tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year, and before you know it, it becomes never. You have to make a decision. You have to choose discipline exactly when your brain starts looking for comfort. That moment is everything. That little window, when you're feeling lazy, when you're tired, when you think maybe I'll skip today, that's where it all changes. Discipline isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you do in spite of how you feel. It's a decision you make before the feelings even arrive. You're not always going to feel motivated. You're not always going to be in the mood. So if you're depending on feelings to get things done, you're in trouble. You have to rewire your thinking. You have to say to yourself, I don't need to feel like it. I just need to do it. That's real strength. That's self-control. When your brain says, take a break, you've done enough, that's the signal to keep going. When your mind says, hit snooze, that's your cue to get up. When your body says, this is too much, that's your sign to push harder. Success doesn't come to the person who does things once in a while. It comes to the one who shows up, tired, unmotivated, distracted, emotional, and still sticks to the plan. Discipline is quiet. It's not loud. It doesn't look glamorous. Nobody's watching. Nobody's clapping. You're not getting likes or praise for it. It's just you, your habits, and your choices. Moment by moment. Most people lose in life, not because they didn't have talent or idea. They lose because they gave in to comfort. They gave in to easy. They stopped showing up when things felt hard. They made discipline optional, and they made comfort their priority. That's not how it works. Comfort is a liar. It sells you short-term relief and steals your long-term growth. You want real change? You want a different life? Then you have to become the kind of person who sees comfort as the enemy. You have to flip the switch. You have to teach your brain, we don't negotiate with comfort anymore. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need more commitment. You need more discipline in the exact moment your brain is fighting against it. When your mind says, I'll do it later, you say, no, I do it now. When your brain says, I don't feel ready, you say, I don't need to be ready. When your body says, skip it today, you say, we're doing it anyway. That kind of mindset changes everything. That's how results become inevitable, because you stop relying on feelings and you start building habits. You stop running from discomfort and you start chasing growth. You have to understand how your mind works. It doesn't want change. It doesn't want discipline. It wants the least resistance. It wants what's familiar, what's easy, what's safe. But nothing meaningful grows in that space. Growth comes from pushing into discomfort. Discipline is built in resistance. Strength is born in the exact moment you want to give up and don't. You will never build a strong life with a weak mindset. You can't improve your life if you keep letting your feelings run the show. You have to become the one in charge. You have to look at your comfort cravings and call them what they are. Traps. They pull you away from everything you say you want. They delay your progress. They keep you average. And if you're not careful, they will steal your potential in silence. Discipline is what pulls you back on track. It's what tells you, I don't care if you're tired. You're doing this anyway. And guess what? The moment you do it, the moment you push through when you didn't feel like it, you earn something far better than comfort. You earn self-respect. Every time you win over that lazy voice in your head, you get stronger. Every time you follow through on a task you wanted to avoid, you build credibility with yourself. And that credibility, that trust in your own word, that's what confidence is built on. Not some motivational video, not some feel-good moment. Confidence comes from doing what you said you'd do, especially when it's hard. That's the foundation of success. You can't buy that. You can't fake it. You earn it. One disciplined action at a time. Start small. Get up on time. Follow your schedule. Finish what you start. Keep your word. Do the workout. Stick to your diet. Shut off the distractions. Say no when you used to say yes. Show up when you feel like staying in bed. These things seem simple, but they're powerful. Most people don't need a miracle. They just need to stop quitting when it's uncomfortable. They need to stop resetting every week because they didn't feel like it. They need to stop waiting for the mood to be right. Your life won't change because you had a good day. It will change because you learned how to win on bad days. And you learn that by choosing discipline in the exact moment you want to escape it. This is the only way to win long term. You can't shortcut this. You can't fake it. Discipline is the path. Not sometimes, not when you feel good, always. You've got to stop doing what's easy and start doing what's necessary. You've got to stop chasing comfort and start chasing consistency. Your mind will fight you. Your emotions will try to bargain with you. That's normal. But you can't let those things make the decisions anymore. You want the results, then earn them with action. Earn them with repetition. Earn them by following through when no one is watching. Be the person who doesn't need to be told what to do. Be the person who takes action without an audience. Be the person who works when it's boring, tiring, or inconvenient. And soon, you'll stop chasing results because the results will start chasing you. People will wonder how you got there. They'll think you're lucky. They'll say it must be talent. They'll talk about how everything works out for you. But you'll know the truth. You'll know about the nights you didn't quit, the mornings you didn't sleep in, the hours you spent focused when it would have been easier to scroll, to snack, to rest. You'll know it wasn't magic, it was discipline. Over and over again, especially in the moments your brain told you to stop. That's the formula. That's the real difference. Discipline over comfort. Action over feelings. Commitment over cravings. You don't need more time. You need more talent. You need more moments where you look your weakness in the face and say, not today. Be that person. And the results, they won't just come, they'll become inevitable. Number 2, show up when every part of you says don't. There are going to be days when your energy is gone, when your mood is off, when your body feels heavy, and your mind is loud with every excuse. You'll hear yourself say, not today. You'll try to convince yourself it's okay to skip, to rest, to wait. That's the moment that defines you. Not the good days, not the easy ones, but the exact moment you feel like doing nothing. This is what separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. They show up when everything in them says, don't. Not because it feels right, not because it's comfortable, but because they've made a decision that their future is more important than their feelings. Everyone wants results. Everyone wants a better life, but not everyone wants to do the hard thing when it's the last thing they want to do. That's why most people plateau. That's why people lose momentum. They only show up when it feels good. But real growth starts when it doesn't. There's a huge difference between wanting something and being willing to fight for it. The people who win long-term are not always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who keep showing up when they're tired, frustrated, uninspired, and uncomfortable. They understand that progress is built in silence, in moments where no one is clapping, no one is watching, and no one will ever know they push through. You have to stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is a mood. It comes and goes. If you only show up when you're excited, you'll never stay consistent. That's why the discipline to show up anyway is so powerful. Because it breaks the cycle of emotional control. It tells your brain, we don't stop just because it's hard. There are going to be mornings where you wake up and feel like doing absolutely nothing. Your bed will feel warm, the world will feel quiet, and every thought will whisper, just this once, it's okay to skip. But that's exactly when you rise, not because you feel strong, but because you've made a habit out of showing up no matter what. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the perfect mood. You need presence. You need to be there, tired, anxious, distracted, but still there. Because every time you show up when your whole body says don't, you build something far more valuable than success. You build inner power. That kind of power can't be faked. You can't buy it. You earn it. Through repetition, through uncomfortable decisions, through action that nobody sees. And the best part? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything flawlessly. You just have to be there. You just have to keep moving, even if it's slower today. You just have to prove to yourself again and again that you will not disappear when things get difficult. Every time you do that, you become stronger, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, because now your self-worth is built on effort, not outcomes. And that's when real change starts. People talk about grit, about consistency, about strength. But all of that starts here, with the choice to show up when you don't want to. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever train yourself to do, because it means facing your own resistance every single day. But the moment you do, the moment you show up anyway, something changes. You start seeing yourself differently. You start realizing you don't need to feel amazing to make progress. You just need to stop giving in to the voice that tells you to quit. And here's something most people don't tell you. Sometimes you'll show up and you still won't perform at your best. You'll be slow. You'll feel distracted. You won't hit the mark. That's okay. What matters is that you stayed in the fight. You didn't disappear. You didn't run from discomfort. You stood your ground. That matters more than perfection. Because anyone can show up when everything is going their way. It takes something different to show up when everything feels wrong. That's when character is built. That's when you develop emotional strength. You need to treat your goals like promises, not suggestions. If you said you do something today, then do it. Even if it's not your best day, even if you're running at 40%. Show up and give that 40% fully. People quit because they think discipline means doing everything perfectly every day. That's not it. Discipline means doing what you said you'd do, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or uninspiring. That kind of consistency creates momentum. And when you build momentum, something powerful happens. Your mind starts trusting you again. You stop making excuses. You stop doubting yourself. You begin to believe, if I say I'll do it, I will. That's how real confidence is formed. Not from compliments, not from outside praise, from internal proof that you keep showing up for yourself. When you avoid showing up, you teach yourself that your feelings are more important than your future. You reinforce the idea that it's okay to skip the work when you're not in the mood. That creates inconsistency. That's where self-doubt grows. That's where regret comes from. But when you show up anyway, even on bad days, you begin to shift that. You send a new message to your brain. I follow through no matter what. The discipline to show up changes your identity. You stop being the person who gives in. You become the person who sticks around when it's tough. And the longer you do that, the more unshakable you become. You won't need someone to motivate you. You won't need pressure from outside. You'll move because you've trained yourself to move. That's what separates people who get by from people who level up. The ones who level up aren't better. They're not luckier. They just made a deal with themselves that they don't break, even when it's hard. You need to make that same deal. You need to look in the mirror and say, I show up, no matter how I feel, and then prove it every day. There's no shortcut to this. There's no hack. There's only the choice to face resistance and walk through it. Not once, not occasionally, but daily. And if you do, things start to shift. Your habits get tighter. Your mind gets clearer. Your goals get closer. Because now, you're not starting and stopping. You're building something. And here's the truth. Most people will give up before it gets good. Most people won't keep going when it gets quiet. Most people will stop when they hit that inner wall. That's your advantage. You just keep going. You just keep showing up. And that decision, repeated daily, creates a version of you that doesn't just hope for results. You create them. The life you want won't come from bursts of motivation. It will come from the days you didn't want to show up and did it anyway. That's the real path. That's where results are earned. One hard day at a time. One brave step forward, over and over again. Number 3, finish tasks even when they feel pointless today. There will be days where the work in front of you feels like it means nothing. You'll sit down to do what you planned, and your brain will ask, why even bother? You'll question whether it matters. You'll question whether it's worth it. You'll feel like you're wasting your time. And that's the exact moment where most people quit. Not because the task was hard, but because they didn't feel the reward immediately. But here's something you need to understand. Not every task will feel exciting, but every task you finish builds the life you want. Discipline is not about chasing motivation. It's about learning how to keep moving when your mind tells you there's no point. Most people don't fail because of the big problems. They fail because of small, ignored actions they thought didn't matter. One skipped task, one unfinished habit, one decision to delay. It adds up, and suddenly they're stuck. You grow the most when you complete things you don't feel like doing. That's how you prove to yourself that your future matters more than your mood. A lot of people get trapped by waiting to feel inspired. But successful people finish their tasks, whether it feels good or not, because they know the value isn't always obvious in the moment. It reveals itself later. You see, results are not instant. Progress doesn't show up the same day the work is done. You may write something today, record something today, build something today, and feel like no one notices. You might show up consistently and feel like nothing is changing, but it is. Quietly, slowly, under the surface, and you never see the breakthrough if you keep quitting early. Maybe quitting, commencing just barely. You have to train yourself to follow through when your brain says, this doesn't matter. That voice is lying to you. That voice wants comfort. That voice wants escape. That voice wants you to live on short-term feelings instead of long-term results. And if you believe it, you start losing trust in yourself. Every time you stop halfway through a task, a small part of you learns that it's okay to back out. And that habit compounds. It becomes normal. You start convincing yourself you'll catch up tomorrow. But what usually happens is you build a pattern of leaving things unfinished. and that eats away at your confidence. Confidence doesn't come from hype. It doesn't come from hearing good things about yourself. It comes from watching yourself follow through. When you say you'll do something and you do it, even when it's boring, even when it feels pointless, you build self-respect. And that kind of self-respect creates mental strength. So the next time you're halfway through something and your brain starts checking out, push through anyway. Finish it. Not because it's perfect. Not because it feels fun because you said you would. Because it's in your plan. Because you understand that keeping your word to yourself is the foundation for everything else. Nobody is watching. Nobody's giving you a round of applause. And that's the best part. That means it's pure. That means it's real. That means you're not doing it for validation. You're doing it because you made a commitment to your future. Sometimes we overthink tasks. We try to judge the value of every little thing we do. But that mindset is dangerous. You don't need to feel like everything is groundbreaking. You just need to do the work that moves you forward. Every finished task is a vote for your future. Every time you complete something, you place another brick in the structure you're building. It's not always glamorous. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's repetitive. Sometimes it feels like you're just checking boxes. But even those boxes, the small, tedious ones, matter because they build consistency. And consistency is what transforms potential into real progress. Even if today's task feels small, finish it. Even if nobody will see it, complete it. Even if your mood isn't in it, don't walk away from it. Because the version of you that always finishes what they start becomes powerful. That version of you becomes trusted. That version of you moves with purpose. You'll never become great at anything by quitting halfway. Growth lives in repetition. Skill is built in the boring days. Progress is born in the process. And that process requires you to keep going even when it feels flat. There are people who will spend years restarting because they never developed the muscle of finishing. They bounce from goal to goal, from plan to plan, and every time something feels off, they switch, and nothing sticks. They feel stuck not because they lack talent, but because they never stuck with the unexciting part long enough to reach the breakthrough. Don't let that become you. Choose to be different. Choose to become someone who finishes, even when the results are invisible, even when the reward isn't immediate. Even when your brain tells you to leave it for later. Because when you develop that muscle, the muscle of finishing no matter what, you become unstoppable. You start completing things on autopilot. You stop needing to negotiate with yourself. The task shows up, and so do you. Over time, that kind of consistency makes results automatic. It's not about how motivated you are, it's about how honest you are with your goals. If your goals really matter to you, you finish the steps whether they're exciting or not. You stop asking yourself how you feel, and you start asking yourself what needs to be done. Discipline isn't a feeling, it's a decision. And that decision gets tested most on the days where nothing feels meaningful. When your mind is foggy, when your energy is low, when your heart isn't in it, those are the days that define your path. So if today feels off, that's okay. If your energy is low, that's fine. If the work in front of you feels dull, you're not broken. You're human. But what separates progress from stagnation is what you choose to do anyway. You don't need fireworks. You don't need perfect conditions. You need one thing. Follow through. Even when it's boring. Even when your mind tries to wander. Even when it doesn't feel like it matters. Because when you finish anyway, you remind yourself who you are. You remind yourself that your commitment is real. And you build proof that you don't break promises to yourself. That kind of mindset changes everything. You no longer depend on hype. You no longer need to be pushed. You become self-directed. You become the person who finishes what they start every time, without needing applause, without needing to feel amazing, just because it's who you've decided to be. And when you live like that, when you keep finishing, life starts opening up in ways most people never get to experience. Not because they're unlucky, but because they never finished what they started. You're not going to be one of them. You're going to be the one who keeps going, even when it feels pointless, because you know it's not. You know it's building something far bigger than today. It's building your character. It's building your future. One finished task at a time. Number 4. Follow your schedule instead of chasing your mood. Most people build their days based on how they feel. If they're tired, they delay. If they're bored, they scroll. If they're stressed, they stop. And that habit, the habit of letting mood decide action, quietly destroys discipline. It teaches your mind that feelings are more important than structure. And once that idea settles in, everything becomes unstable. You never know when you'll show up. You never know when you'll complete something. You depend on energy, emotion, an atmosphere to move. And the truth is, those things can't be trusted. That's why your schedule matters. That's why routine matters. Because a schedule doesn't care how you feel. A schedule says this is what needs to get done today. And that's it. No negotiation, no delay, no emotional check-in, just structure. The people who grow consistently aren't the ones who always feel inspired. They're the ones who stick to a plan, even when they don't want to. Even when their emotions pull them in another direction. It's easy to move when you're excited. It's simple to work when you're in a good headspace. But what happens when the motivation fades? What happens when you're low on energy and heavy with stress? That's when most people fall off. That's when routines get pushed aside. That's when plans get rearranged to match a temporary feeling. But those moments are the real test. Your schedule is a tool. It's not just a to-do list. It's a commitment to yourself. It's a map that keeps you from drifting. Because your emotions will lie to you. They will tell you that you're too tired, too stressed, that it's fine to skip. But if you keep listening to that voice, you train yourself to be reactive instead of responsible. And here's what's important. You don't need to feel ready to follow your schedule. You just need to respect it. You just need to say, this is what I committed to, and then do it. You don't let your emotions run the day. You don't give power to your mood. You give power to your decision. There's something freeing about that, about waking up and knowing exactly what needs to be done. No guessing, no questioning, no mood-based delays, just movement. That kind of structure eliminates chaos. It gives your mind fewer decisions to make, and it gives your life consistency, which is the foundation of all long-term success. When you follow a schedule, you build stability. You no longer rely on external motivation. You don't wait for a spark. You become the kind of person who moves anyway. That's what builds progress. And not just progress in your goals, but progress in your character. Because now your actions are based on your priorities, not your emotions. Think about this. Your mood is temporary, but your results are permanent. If you keep chasing feelings, you will stay stuck in a cycle of inconsistency. You'll feel good some days, so you'll push hard, but other days you'll fall off. And the progress resets. You'll always be starting over. That's exhausting. That's defeating. But it's avoidable. When you shift your mindset from do I feel like it to what does my plan say, everything becomes more focused. You save time. You reduce mental fatigue. You stop fighting with yourself every hour. You just do what you said you'd do. There's power in that. Quiet power. The kind of strength that builds behind the scenes. And over time, you become someone others admire. Not because you're flashy or extreme, but because you're dependable. You do what you say you will, and that matters more than hype. Following your schedule doesn't mean being robotic. It means being responsible. It means understanding that your time has value, that your word means something, and that your future depends on your ability to stay consistent. You won't always feel motivated. But that's not a problem if you have a structure. Motivation might get you started, but structure is what keeps you going. And the deeper your structure, the stronger your discipline. And here's something else. When you follow your schedule, even on low energy days, you learn something important about yourself, that you're capable of moving without emotion, that you can perform even when you're not in the mood, that you can keep promises to yourself, without needing a burst of inspiration. That realization builds belief. That belief creates momentum. You start trusting yourself more. You stop needing someone to push you. You become your own system. And when that happens, you start separating from the crowd. Because most people are trapped in a loop. They feel good, so they work. They feel bad, so they rest. And they keep repeating that loop, never breaking through. But you're not most people. You're building something real. And that requires you to rise above how you feel. It requires you to let go of the idea that every action has to feel good. It doesn't. It just has to be done. Your schedule is a promise. It's a tool. It's a reflection of what matters to you. Don't ignore it. Don't bend it every time your emotions shift. Protect it. Follow it. Let it guide you when your mind is all over the place. And here's the truth most won't tell you. Your emotions will often try to sabotage your growth. Not because you're weak, but because your brain wants ease. It wants predictability. It wants comfort. Following a schedule challenges all of that. It forces you to confront resistance. And that confrontation is what makes you stronger. You don't need to win the entire day. You just need to show up at the right time and do what's planned. That's where progress is made. Not in perfect days, not in high motivation moments, but in the hours where you simply do what's scheduled. No questions asked. Over time, this discipline stacks, one day after another, one task after another. You look back and realize how far you've come. Not because you had more talent, not because you had more energy, but because you had structure and you honored it. That's the kind of power no one can take from you. That's the kind of strength that carries over into every area of life. You become someone who gets things, someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who doesn't wait to feel ready, someone who just moves with purpose, with direction, with discipline. Following your mood will always keep you guessing. Following your schedule will always keep you grounded. And if your goal is growth, then structure is not optional. It's essential. The truth is, every day you ignore your plan, you delay your own potential. Every time you adjust your routine to fit your emotions, you move backward. But every time you follow through, especially when it's inconvenient, you move closer to the person you said you wanted to become. That's how real change happens. Not through feelings, through decisions, through structure, through a quiet commitment to show up, no matter what. You don't chase your mood. You follow your mission. And every day you do, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That's where your real power lives. Number 5. Say no to urges that ruin your momentum. Every time you're making progress, something tries to pull you off track. It's not always loud, it's not always obvious. Sometimes it shows up as a small craving, a quick distraction, a moment of escape, one video, one scroll, one break that turns into the rest of the day. You tell yourself it's harmless, but over time those little urges take control. They steal your rhythm. They interrupt your focus. And before you even realize it, you're starting over again. This is why you need to say no. Not later, not after the damage is done. You need to say no the moment that urge shows up. The urge to check your phone. The urge to skip your workout. The urge to break your routine. These urges feel innocent, but they're not. They're designed to ruin your momentum. And momentum is everything. When you're in flow, when you're consistent, you're dangerous, you're sharp, you're clear, you're moving in the right direction. That's when distractions creep in. That's when comfort knocks. And if you don't stop it at the door, it walks right in and tears everything apart. You worked hard to build momentum. You started showing up. You started taking yourself seriously. You stopped making excuses. And now the old habits want to come back. They don't announce themselves as destruction. They come as relief. They say things like, you've done enough for today. You deserve to relax. You can handle this later. That's the trap. Saying no isn't about self-punishment. It's about protecting what you're building. You've already lived the other way. You've already seen what happens when you give in to every little urge. You delay. You restart. You carry the guilt of not finishing. That cycle keeps repeating until you take it seriously. You can't afford to say yes to things that pull you backward. You've worked too hard. You've sacrificed too much. And now you're in motion. When you have momentum, your job is to guard it. That means cutting out whatever breaks it. That means recognizing temptations for what they really are. Progress killers. The longer you entertain those urges, the stronger they get. The moment you respond, they learn your pattern. They know they can reach you. They know you'll listen. They'll keep showing up. But when you say no consistently, clearly and without hesitation, you train your brain differently. You teach it discipline. You teach it boundaries. You are not supposed to act on every impulse. You are not a machine controlled by whatever feeling hits you. You're a person with a purpose. And purpose requires control. Not control over the world. Control over yourself. If you can say no when it counts, you can protect your progress. Your time is not unlimited. Your energy is not endless. Every decision you make either moves you forward or sets you back. That quick distraction, that 10-minute scroll, that skipped task, it always costs more than it looks. You lose time, but you also lose mental clarity. You lose belief. You lose the sense of momentum that keeps you pushing. Start paying attention to what pulls you. Is it boredom? Is it stress? Is it comfort? What's the voice that tells you to take the easy route? Learn to recognize it, then shut it down. Not gently. Not with compromise. With finality. That's how you grow. You don't need to fight every battle. You just need to win the ones that matter. And the most important ones happen inside your head. No one sees it. But that internal war decides everything. That moment when you're working and feel the urge to pause for no good reason. That's where the decision happens. Do you stay focused, or do you let that moment take over? You know what happens when you give in. You've felt the regret. You've seen the progress slow down. That's why you need to respond differently now. Not with excuses, not with just this once, but with power, with awareness, with the clear decision to protect what you're building. Momentum is rare. It's valuable, and once it's broken, it takes more effort to get back than it took to start. Don't let temporary urges destroy long-term consistency. Most people live in cycles of almost making. They get close, they get distracted, and they fall off over and over. You don't need to repeat that cycle anymore. You've come too far to be pulled back by something as small as a quick escape. You don't need it. You need the finish line. You need the satisfaction that comes from pushing through. That's where your confidence grows, not from ease, from resistance, from saying no over and over again, until it becomes your instinct. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. You'll feel tension. You'll feel like you're missing out, but that discomfort is growth. It's not punishment. It's the sign that you're breaking an old pattern and building a new one that respects your goals, one that values your future more than a cheap moment of relief. Your momentum is your responsibility. Nobody else will guard it for you. Nobody else can protect it. You have to be the one who says, I don't break my rhythm for distractions. I don't throw away progress for urges. I don't undo days of work for a few minutes of comfort. This mindset will set you apart, because most people aren't living with intention. They're reacting. They're moving with emotion. They're making decisions based on impulse instead of values. That's why they stay stuck. That's why nothing sticks. But you're not here for temporary pleasure. You're here for lasting change. That means becoming ruthless about what you allow. If it breaks your flow, it doesn't belong. If it steals your time, it doesn't get access. If it threatens your progress, it doesn't get a seat at the table. You owe it to yourself to say no, not because you're trying to be perfect, but because you're trying to be consistent. Progress is not built on intensity. It's built on direction. And if you keep losing direction to meaningless urges, you'll never build the momentum you need to break through. So the next time something tries to pull you off track, pause, take a breath, remind yourself who you are, remind yourself what you said you wanted, and then choose power over impulse. Choose growth over escape. Choose the life you're building over the comfort that's trying to ruin it. That choice, that small decision in the quiet moments, that's what will make the biggest difference. Because when you say no to the wrong things, you start making space for everything that's right. You build real focus. You create real energy. You start moving without interruption. And that's when momentum becomes unstoppable. Number 6, act fast before overthinking shuts you down again. You already know what needs to be done. You've known it for a while. But every time you get close to starting, your mind jumps in and starts throwing questions, doubts, hesitations. You think too much. You analyze everything. You wait for the perfect time. You look for more signs, more certainty, more clarity. And in doing so, you don't move. You freeze. You stay stuck in your head while time keeps moving forward without you. That's the trap of overthinking. It doesn't look like failure. It feels like being careful, but it quietly kills action. You tell yourself you're planning, but really you're delaying. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right moment, but really you're scared of messing up. You tell yourself you need more information, but deep down, you already know enough to begin. What's missing isn't knowledge. What's missing is speed. What's missing is the habit of acting fast before the voice in your head talks you out of it again. You need to train yourself to act before the fear gets loud, before the hesitation builds up, before your mind starts listing all the reasons why now isn't the right time. Because once that mental noise kicks in, it gets harder to move. The window to take action starts closing. You begin spiraling into what-ifs and worst-case scenarios and self-doubt. That cycle has stolen enough opportunities from you. It's cost you enough days. Action ends that cycle. Movement shuts it down. The fastest way to silence fear is to do the thing you're afraid of, quickly, without hesitation. You don't give your mind a chance to build resistance. You bypass the doubt by going straight into action. That's how momentum is created. That's how you break the grip of hesitation that has kept you in the same place for too long. You've probably had moments where you hesitated for just a second too long, and that second turned into a whole day lost. That day turned into a week, and before you knew it, the thing you wanted to do had been pushed so far back, it started to feel unreachable, all because you didn't act when the idea showed up. That's why speed matters. That's why hesitation is dangerous. Not because it feels like failure, but because it feels like nothing. It's quiet, but it steals everything. When you get an idea, take a step. When you know what to do, don't wait. Don't ask yourself if it's the right time. Don't wait to feel more ready. Take the first step, even if it's small. Starting is more important than perfect planning. Because once you start, your mind shifts. You stop being stuck in decision mode and move into execution mode. And when you're in that zone, you stop feeding doubt. You stop analyzing. You just do. And that's where real progress lives. Not in the thoughts, but in the action. You have to break the habit of overthinking before it turns into paralysis again. That means catching it early. That means recognizing when your brain is starting to stall and choosing to move anyway. You can't argue with fear and expect to win. You can't debate with doubt and hope it backs off. The only way to beat it is to move faster than it can grow. And this is not about being reckless, not about rushing blindly. It's about responding when you already know what needs to happen. It's about trusting yourself to figure things out along the way, instead of trying to predict every possible outcome before you take the first step. Life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards courage, not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that wakes up and chooses to move forward even when the mind hasn't caught up yet. You need to rebuild trust in your ability to act. Because the longer you delay, the more you teach yourself that hesitation is acceptable. You send a signal to your brain that you're not in control, that doubt gets to lead. And over time, that message becomes your behavior. That's why you have to break that pattern now. That's why action has to become your default. Every time you act fast, you build a different kind of belief, not belief in outcomes. Belief in your own decisiveness. And that changes how you carry yourself. You stop second-guessing. You stop searching for perfect conditions. You learn to make the most of the moment you're in. That's power. You don't need more clarity. You don't need more time. You need movement. You need to build the habit of trusting your instincts and following through without overcomplicating the process. Most people get stuck not because they're incapable, but because they keep waiting for a feeling that never comes. They keep waiting to feel totally ready, totally fearless, totally certain. But that moment doesn't exist. The ones who make it happen are the ones who act even with doubt still in the background. You already know the things you've put off. You already know the tasks that keep getting delayed. Look at them honestly. Ask yourself why you haven't done them. Is it because you really need more time? Or is it because you've let fear get in the way again? Be real with yourself. Call it what it is. Not preparation. Not patience. Just delay. And then decide that delay doesn't get to lead anymore. This is the mindset that builds progress. I act fast. I don't overthink. I don't stall. I don't feed doubt. I move. And I adjust as I go. That's how momentum starts. Not with a grand plan, but with the first bold step. You take that step today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Before your brain starts making a case against it. Before you talk yourself into another delay disguised as logic. You just act. And when you make this your new normal, you change everything. Because now you're no longer at the mercy of hesitation. You're no longer letting your mind hold you back. You've decided that action leads, and with enough repetition, that becomes who you are. The one who moves, the one who doesn't freeze, the one who takes control before fear has a chance to speak. That's what it takes to break free from the pattern that's held you back for too long. That's what it takes to stop overthinking your way into stagnation. It's not complicated. It's not easy, but it's clear. You act fast. You move before the doubt builds. You shut the door on hesitation. And you get to work. That's how real change happens. That's how you take back control. One decision, one fast action, and then another. Keep doing that, and your momentum will take care of the rest. Number 7. Repeat the boring work until it becomes automatic. The real work that transforms your life isn't exciting. It's not flashy. It's not the kind of thing that gets attention or applause. It's the boring work. It's the things no one wants to do consistently. It's the habits that feel repetitive, the tasks that seem small, the steps that don't look like they're moving the needle. But they are, quietly, steadily, over time. And that's why most people never reach their full potential. Because they get tired of doing what's necessary before it starts paying off. You don't need to find something new every week. You don't need to change your strategy every time it feels dull. You need to pick the right work and repeat it until it becomes automatic. Not until it feels good. Not until it feels fresh. Until it becomes who you are. That's the difference between people who keep starting over and people who actually build something that lasts. There is nothing wrong with boredom. In fact, boredom is a signal that you're on the right track. Because discipline often feels repetitive. And repetition builds results. But the moment you confuse boredom with failure, you lose. You stop. You change path. And that restart costs you time, energy, and progress. The ones who succeed long-term are not the ones chasing new methods every week. They're the ones doing the same basic work with relentless consistency. They wake up, follow the process, and don't complain that it's not exciting. Because they're not doing it for excitement. They're doing it for outcomes. It's easy to romanticize success, to think it's built through breakthrough moments, but it's not. It's built in the quiet mornings where you do the same thing you did yesterday. It's built in the days when nobody's watching and nothing feels impressive. You just show up and execute again and again. And yes, your brain will try to fight it. It will say things like, "This isn't working. We've done this already. Why are we still doing the same thing?" That's just resistance. That's your mind craving novelty. But if you give in, you'll always be chasing stimulation instead of building mastery. You don't need to be entertained by your routine. You need to be committed to it. And once you've committed, the only job is to repeat it until your brain stops resisting, until the habit takes over, until the process becomes automatic. That's the goal. Not just to force discipline, but to build systems that no longer rely on willpower. Because willpower fades, but habits last. And the only way to build habits is through repetition. Especially when it's boring. You brush your teeth without thinking about it. You lock your door without second guessing. That didn't happen overnight. It happened because you did it enough times that it became part of your operating system. That's what you want with your goals. You want the daily steps to feel normal, unavoidable, automatic. And that only happens if you keep doing them without interruption. So ask yourself, what are the boring things you keep avoiding? What are the actions that feel too small to matter? So you skip them. That's where your power lives. Right there in the repetition you've been trying to escape. You don't need a new tactic. You need more consistency with the one that worked. The real breakthroughs come when you stay with a system long enough to see what it can really do. Most people quit before that point. They say it's not working. But the truth is, they just didn't give it enough time. Repetition builds identity. Every time you do the same thing, you reinforce the belief, this is who I am now. You train your brain to expect the behavior. You shift from someone who tries to someone who lives it. And when that shift happens, everything becomes easier. Because now it's not about forcing yourself to act. It's about following the rhythm you created. Think of the athlete who trains on the same schedule, hitting the same drills, mastering the same fundamentals every day. It's not because they lack creativity. It's because they understand that greatness is built in layers. And you don't build layers by constantly switching directions. You have to fall in love with the process, not the emotion it gives you. You have to accept that some days will feel dull. Some tasks will feel tedious, but that's not a problem. It's a requirement. You're not doing this to feel entertained. You're doing it to evolve. And the truth is, you will get better. The first time you do anything, it's uncomfortable. The second time feels awkward. The 10th time starts to feel familiar. And then one day, without even thinking about it, you just do it. That's when you know it's locked in. But you'll never reach that point if you keep looking for shortcuts. There's no fast way to automate discipline. You have to earn it. Through every boring rep, through every unnoticed session, through every routine that doesn't get praised. Because those are the moments that build strength. Quiet strength. The kind that lasts. If you look at the people who've achieved what you want, you'll see one thing in common. They didn't do 100 different things. They did a few things thousands of times. They practiced, they refined, they showed up, and they didn't stop because it got boring. They understood that mastery begins when the excitement ends. You're not stuck. You're just in the boring part. And that's where the magic happens. Because the moment you stop needing the work to feel good, you start doing it like a professional. Not for hype, not for approval, but because it's who you are now. So keep showing up, keep repeating, keep doing the thing that feels like it's not working yet. Because every repetition is teaching your mind that quitting is not an option anymore. Every boring task is reinforcing your identity as someone who finishes what they start. Every time you stick to the plan, instead of looking for something new, you're building mental toughness. And one day it clicks. The work that once felt heavy starts feeling normal. The tasks that drained you now happen without resistance. You don't need reminders. You don't need motivation. You just do the work. That's when you've won. Not when the goal is achieved, but when the process becomes automatic. That's the goal. Not excitement, not short-term motivation, but systems so solid they carry you even on your worst day. And the only way to build that is by repeating the boring work until it's no longer something you do. It's something you are. Number 8. Respect your time like your future depends on it. Time is not something you get back. Once it's gone forever. And if you don't respect your time, you're quietly telling your future that it doesn't matter. Most people don't treat their time like it's precious. They waste it, lose it, give it away without thinking. And then they wonder why their life feels stuck, why results aren't showing up, why years go by without any real change. It's because they never made time their priority. They never protected it. They never understood what it was really worth. You only get so many hours in a day. And those hours decide everything. What you build, what you learn, who you become. If you keep spending your time on the wrong things, the wrong people, the wrong habits, your future pays the price. Not immediately, but eventually. Time doesn't punish you in the moment. It punishes you in the outcome. You won't feel the effects of a wasted hour right now. But months later, you'll see what that hour could have done. You'll see what that time could have created. This is why you need to treat your time like it's expensive. Like it costs something. Because it does. Every minute you waste costs you opportunities. Every distraction you allow steals a piece of your progress. Every task you delay pushes your growth further away. You don't feel it right away, but that's what makes it dangerous. The damage is silent. You've got to start asking yourself, is this worth my time? Is this conversation worth it? Is this habit helping or hurting? Is this task moving me forward or keeping me distracted? These questions matter. Because every time you say yes to something unimportant, you're saying no to something that is. You don't just lose time, you trade it. You trade it for entertainment. You trade it for comfort. You trade it for excuses, and every trade shapes your life. People who value their future guard their time. They don't hand it out freely. They don't waste it waiting. They don't let others steal it with pointless drama, meaningless scrolling, or endless talking about nothing. They schedule their time. They use it. They defend it. Because they know the life they want isn't built in some perfect moment later. It's built today, in the hours they have right now. You can't keep treating your time like it's unlimited. You can't keep saying, I'll get serious next week. That's the lie that steals progress from people year after year. Waiting, delaying, postponing. It all leads to one place. Regret. Regret for not starting sooner. Regret for wasting time on things that didn't matter. Regret for not using the time when they had it. You don't need more time. You need to take ownership of the time you already have. You have enough to make progress. You have enough to change your life. But only if you use it. Only if you stop wasting it on things that don't build you. Only if you stop living like you'll always have another chance. Start planning your days. Start tracking your hours. Not in a rigid, exhausting way, but with clarity. Know what you're doing with your time. Know where it's going. Because if you don't track it, it will disappear without you noticing. And when it's gone for good. You have goals, you have dreams, you have a vision for your future. But if your time doesn't match that vision, you'll never get there. You can't want a strong, disciplined, successful life and spend most of your day doing weak, unfocused things. You can't expect change while giving your best time to entertainment, gossip, or mindless scrolling. It doesn't work like that. Your results will always reflect how you use your hours. There's no secret to this. Just look at your calendar. Look at your routines. Look at your day-to-day action. That's the real reflection of what you value. Not what you say you want, what you actually do. And if it's not aligned with your future, it's time to fix it. Not tomorrow, not next month, right now. Because every day matters, not in a dramatic, high-pressure way, but in a real, measurable way. You don't have to work 20 hours a day. You just have to stop losing the ones you already have. You just have to stop giving your focus to things that do nothing for your future. You just have to respect your time like your future depends on it. Because it does. You want to improve your life. Start treating your time like a limited resource. Start treating your focus like it's valuable. Stop letting people interrupt you every 5 minutes. Stop letting distractions live rent-free in your mind. Start showing up to your schedule like it's non-negotiable. Because the truth is, successful people aren't always smarter or luckier. They're just more intentional. They don't waste time wondering if they feel like doing something. They do it because it's scheduled, because it's part of their process, because they've learned that progress doesn't happen by accident. And if you ever feel like you're behind, like life is moving faster than you are, don't try to rush everything. Just look at your time. Are you protecting it? Are you using it wisely? Or are you giving it away to distractions and empty routines? Most people don't need more energy. They need fewer interruptions. They need better boundaries. They need to start treating their time like it's worth something. That shift alone can change everything. You don't need a perfect plan to move forward. You just need to respect your hours. You just need to make sure the way you spend your time actually builds the life you say you want. That's how progress is made. Not by working more, but by working smarter. By focusing deep, by cutting out the waste, and using what you have with discipline and intention. Because at the end of the day, your future will be a reflection of how you used your time now. Not the big moments, not the lucky breaks, just the quiet hours you used or lost. So protect them, own them. Don't give them away for free. Use them to build something that matters, and do it every day. Not because it feels urgent, but because it is. Because your future is built right now, 1 hour at a time. Number 9. Break the habit of starting and never finishing. Starting is easy. Finishing is where most people fall apart. Every day, people make promises to themselves. They begin projects, set goals, write plans, say this time will be different. But over and over again, they walk away before it's done. They move on to something new. They lose focus. They find a reason to pause. And before they know it, they've left behind another half-finished commitment. sitting in the pile of everything they once thought mattered. This habit, starting and never finishing, is one of the biggest things that kills confidence. It's not just about the missed goals. It's about what it does to your mind. Every time you abandon something you said you'd complete, a small part of you starts to doubt yourself. You say, next time I'll follow through. But your brain remembers all the other times you didn't. It doesn't believe you anymore. And that lack of self-trust starts showing up in everything. You lose energy. You lose clarity. You stop making bold moves. Because deep down, you're not sure if you'll stick with them. That's what happens when quitting becomes normal. You start something strong. But the second it feels hard, slow, or boring, your attention shifts. You chase a new idea. You look for something that gives you that same rush you felt at the beginning. But you can't build anything real like that. You have to break that pattern. You have to train yourself to become a closer, not just to start. You have to rebuild your mindset so that when you begin something, you carry it all the way to the end. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when the excitement fades, even when no one is watching. There's a reason most people don't finish. Finishing takes more than energy. It takes grit. It takes focus. It takes doing the work on days you don't want to. The beginning is loud. It's full of motivation and excitement. But finishing is quiet. It's lonely. It's often boring. But that's where transformation happens. That's where progress becomes permanent. If you want to change your life, stop chasing the start. Learn to stay. Learn to push through the middle, the part where most give up. Learn to keep going when the results are slow and the work feels heavy. Because the people who win in life are not always the fastest. They're the ones who keep showing up after the spark is gone. Think about how many times you've said you were going to do something. Get in shape. Start a new habit. Launch a project. Fix a problem. And how many times did it start strong and then fall apart? Not because you weren't capable, not because the goal was impossible, but because you didn't commit to finishing. You stopped when it got inconvenient. This pattern doesn't break by hoping. It breaks with action. It breaks the moment you decide that from now on, every time you start something, you finish. No matter how long it takes, no matter how you feel halfway through, no matter what distractions show up along the way. You can't keep walking away every time it gets tough. You have to learn to stay. You have to see things through. That means sticking with the boring part. That means ignoring the urge to start something new, just because the current thing isn't exciting anymore. That means proving to yourself that you don't need hype to be consistent. You just need discipline. Start small if you have to, but start with the mindset that completion matters more than momentum. Don't add 10 new goals to your plate. Pick one thing, finish it, then move to the next. Build the reputation with yourself that when you begin something, it doesn't stay unfinished. That's how you grow. This mindset will feel strange at first if you're used to quitting, but that discomfort is the start of change. You're shifting from temporary effort to real discipline. You're turning away from short bursts and building endurance. You're moving from dabbling to mastery. And yes, the middle is hard. Yes, you'll get bored. Yes, you'll feel like maybe this wasn't the right thing after all. That's normal. That's expected. But it's not a reason to stop. It's a reason to push further. Because every time you fight through that feeling and finish what you started, you become stronger. Not just in your habits, in your identity. That identity shift is what matters. When you start seeing yourself as someone who finishes, you operate differently. You stop wasting time. You stop chasing shiny ideas. You put your energy into progress, not possibilities. You get things done, and that track record starts changing the way you see your potential. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to get it all right. You just need to stay long enough to cross the finish line, even if it's messy, even if it's slower than you thought, even if it looks different from what you imagined. Done is better than almost. Done is better than another restart. Done gives you proof. Done gives you momentum. Finishing creates trust with yourself, with others. It builds a reputation. It builds momentum. And once you start stacking completions, real finished results, something powerful happens. You stop doubting if you can do things, because now you have evidence that you do. This is how you take control of your time. This is how you create focus. This is how you stop letting energy go to waste. You stop giving yourself an easy out. You stop making excuses halfway through. You say, I'm here until the end. And you mean it. From this point on, make that your standard. Don't start something unless you're ready to commit. Don't give energy to new goals until the old ones are completed. Don't let excitement trick you into overcommitting and under-delivering. Respect your energy. Respect your commitment. Respect the version of yourself that wants to grow. You'll be tempted to quit. You'll feel like you've done enough. You'll hear that voice in your head trying to justify why it's okay to stop early. Don't listen to it. That voice is the one that kept you average. That voice is the reason so many of your goals are half-built. This time, ignore it. This time, keep going. This time, push through the final stretch. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. Because you've decided that your new standard is simple. You finish what you start. No shortcut, no halfway efforts, no new ideas until the current one is complete. That kind of discipline will change your life. That kind of focus will separate you from the crowd. That kind of follow-through will turn you into someone who builds things that last. And when the results show up, when you look back and see how far you've come, you'll realize it wasn't talent that got you there. It was consistency. It was stubborn follow-through. It was the simple decision to break the habit of quitting early and become the kind of person who always sees it through. Number 10. Force action in silence and let success respond. You don't need to announce your goals. You don't need to explain why you're working late. You don't have to prove anything with words. What you need is action. Quiet, consistent action, not because someone is watching, not for approval, not to prove anything to the soul, but because you made a decision that your life deserves more than talk. The problem today is that too many people speak their plans out loud and feel like that's progress. But talking isn't building. Sharing isn't doing. Planning isn't moving. And if you keep mistaking expression for execution, you'll stay stuck in the same place, repeating the same intentions without ever getting to the outcome. Success doesn't respond to noise. It doesn't care about the story you post or the explanation you give. It only reacts to results. It's the quiet ones, the disciplined ones, the ones who do the work when no one is clapping. Those are the people who get ahead because they're not distracted by the performance of effort. They're not chasing attention. They're building something solid in the background. Silence is powerful, not because you're hiding, but because you're focused. You don't waste time convincing anyone of your commitment. You don't need to explain why you're unavailable. You just do the work, quietly, repeatedly, without needing a reaction from anyone. That's where real progress comes from. Not from the outside world cheering you on, but from the private decision to act even when nobody is looking. You see, when you move in silence, you protect your energy. You protect your momentum. You don't open the door to opinions that aren't useful. You don't let other people's noise distract you from your path. You just keep going, step after step, and eventually success starts speaking for you. Not in big announcements, but in undeniable outcomes, in discipline that shows up in your results, in progress that can't be questioned, in improvement that doesn't need an introduction. There's a difference between people who want to be seen and people who want to win. One seeks validation, the other seeks growth. You need to decide which one you are, because if your motivation depends on applause, you'll burn out the moment things go quiet. But if your motivation comes from within, silence becomes your advantage. You don't need anyone to believe in you. You believe in yourself enough to stay committed when nobody is watching. You won't always get recognition. You won't always get support. But that's not a problem if your reason is bigger than attention. You're not here to impress. You're here to transform. And that transformation happens behind the scenes. While others are talking, you're moving. While others are celebrating ideas, you're completing tasks. While others are distracted by noise, you're stacking wins in silence. Force action. Even when you're tired. Even when you feel invisible. Even when progress seems slow. That's where the separation happens. Not in how loud you are about your goals, but in how relentless you are about executing them over and over, with no audience, no applause, just the quiet understanding that your future depends on how you show up now. There's a kind of strength that comes from showing up when nobody asks, when nobody texts, when nobody cheers, and you do it anyway. That's where your power grows. You build a kind of inner fire that doesn't rely on feedback. You stop needing to be seen And you start focusing on being effective. You don't have to explain why you've gone quiet. You don't have to justify why your priorities have changed. Let your results do that. Let your progress answer every question. Let your evolution silence every doubt. There's no need to defend your growth when your life starts reflecting it. Most people won't notice your work right away. That's okay. Most people aren't supposed to. The early stages are meant to be yours. That's where you build confidence. That's where you prove to yourself that you can stay consistent without a crowd. And when the results finally show, they hit different. Because they were earned in silence, not in performance. There's something powerful about grinding when nobody cares, about rising early when there's no one to impress, about making decisions that nobody claps for. That's how discipline is built. That's how momentum is created. In the small private wins that nobody sees, in the sacrifices that don't get shared, in the moments where you choose progress over attention. If you're always talking about what you're going to do, it starts to lose meaning. People stop listening. More importantly, you stop believing yourself. Because deep down, your brain knows the truth. It knows if you're acting or if you're just speaking. That's why forcing action is so important. Not for them, for you, to prove to yourself that this time, it's not about promise, it's about follow through. And when you build that rhythm, day by day, task by task, you become unstoppable, because now it's not about how you feel. It's about what needs to be done. You stop chasing validation and start chasing growth. You stop announcing steps and start completing them. This kind of life isn't flashy, but it's real. You won't get instant approval, but you'll build something solid. You won't impress everyone, but you'll become someone you respect. And that matters more than any opinion, more than any like, more than any praise. You have a limited window of time. Don't waste it seeking attention for things you haven't finished. Don't burn your energy trying to be noticed. Pour it into your work, into your process, into your daily effort. And keep doing that until the progress is too obvious to ignore. Success will respond. Not instantly, not loudly, but eventually it will become clear. People will ask how you did it. They'll think it happened fast, but you'll know the truth. It was built in silence, in the late nights, in the early mornings, in the unseen grind that nobody cared about, until it started producing results. You don't need to shout about your work. The right people will notice, and more importantly, you'll notice. You'll feel different. You'll start to trust yourself more, because now your actions match your words. Your effort matches your goals. Your days are spent creating, not explaining. That's the shift. That's the mindset that creates real results. Not because you're perfect, not because you're lucky, but because you stopped performing and started producing. You stopped talking and started building. You started choosing discipline over noise. And now success is responding. Keep going. Keep it quiet. Keep it solid. One action at a time. Let them wonder what you're doing. Let them guess why you're not as visible. Then let your success answer everything. Quietly, clearly, powerfully, just like it's supposed to. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be disciplined enough to keep showing up. That's what makes the difference. Not once a week, not when it's easy, but every day. Even when it's hard. Even when you don't feel like. If you really want change, stop talking about it and start doing the work that builds it. Quietly, consistently, without needing to prove anything to anyone. And if you stay with it long enough, you won't need to chase results anymore. They'll come find you. Now ask yourself, are you finally ready to stop starting over? Or are you still letting your feelings control your future? If this message hit you at the right time, save it. Watch it again tomorrow. And if you're serious about building the discipline that guarantees results, subscribe. Because this channel is where we do the real work. We're just getting started.